Hey guys, welcome to the Shelter in Place CP drawing stream. I never know exactly when this goes live, like the exact second that it goes live. So I looked back at it. I looked back at it the other day, and sometimes I'm like in mid-sentence when it starts. So if that's the case, I'm going to go ahead and say it again. Welcome to the Shelter in Place CP drawing stream. And we're going to go ahead and continue working on this blonde hair. So just a quick study on blonde hair, and I want to make sure that you're able to see this. Last night, we started this last night at 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So whatever time it is for you, this is when we do these live streams. That's the time. I'm not sure what the UTC Universal Time Code is, but for Eastern Daylight Time, it's 5 p.m. on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And we've been just doing different portrait features. And what we're doing today, this is the fourth in the series of these studies, and we're doing blonde hair. So it started out using the Derwent Lightfast Sepia Red. So in parentheses it says red. So that's the color that I started with. And I'm drawing on cream Stonehenge paper. So if you guys are watching the replay, then welcome to you as well. Thanks, Harry, for coming out here. Harry is over on Facebook Live. Appreciate you being here. Okay, so let me grab this larger reference and talk about a couple of things. So we established a little bit, for the most part, we established where most of the dark areas are. Hey, Linda. Linda's over there on YouTube Live. Appreciate you joining us. So now today we're going to start strengthening some of those areas, but I also want to look in and I put some white down in here for some of the highlights so we can protect those areas and preserve them. What I want to do though today is I want to look at the mid-range value just on the other side of these dark values. I do see a lot of reds and a lot of purples in here, mostly red. This is what I'm trying to look for. I'm trying to push myself to look for other colors other than ochre. And so I'm seeing a lot of reds along with the ochres and the browns, the obvious colors, So that's what we're looking for. Hey, Melanie, thanks for joining as well over there on Facebook Live. All right. So I've got this, and I think you can see the differences here. Let me grab these and show you here. Maria is joining us over on YouTube. So here is my sienna color, which is, I hope I have a longer one than that. I think I do. Maybe. Yeah, here it is. So we'll demonstrate with that one. How's that? A little bit longer. So sienna. So sienna and this sepia red they're pretty much a gradation of one another. And I think I can show you this over here. Let me see. We've got enough room. I'll do it down here. But here's that sepia red. And then I'll put this sienna right next to it. But I think you can see how this is a gradation. So what would be nice then is to get a color right in between those two. That's what we're kind of looking for. And not that dark honey, but maybe ruby earth. Might be a little bit too red. That's not bad. Not bad. And then we can lean that back in a lighter direction, maybe with like Naples. Yeah, that's not too bad. Okay, so let me grab the. Here's my other sepia. Let me sharpen this pencil. Merlot. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and sharpen that sepia red here. All right. So I'm going to start over here on the top left again and fill in a few more details as I work my way around. And if I was real serious about this drawing and it wasn't just a study, then I would put some glassine under my hand to make sure I'm protecting everything that I'm working on. Hey, Carol, thanks for joining over there on YouTube Live. Good to see you over there. Okay, so I can start down here. I've got this darker area. We'll go in both directions a little bit here. And we'll work on this for just a moment, and then we'll come back in there and put a little bit of that scalp color down so that we can clearly see those differences there, the separations. Okay. So I'm trying to look for the shadows or the in-between areas. And sometimes that's a bit tricky because our mind often wants to draw the lighter areas when it's surrounded by dark areas. And so we have to remember that and keep telling ourselves, no, I'm only drawing these darker areas. I'll draw the lighter areas later. And remember, we chose this paper because it's doing some of the work for us as well. So that's a nice advantage that we have on this kind of paper. Ah, so cool, Carol. Congratulations. So Carol, that is so exciting. Her Lux paper arrived, she says, over there on YouTube Live, but she's scared to use it because it's so expensive. I totally get that. But use it. You're going to be so glad. It's just going to make your life easier in so many ways. Sanded paper. It's so good. I think you'll really fall in love with that particular paper. The more I use it, the more in love I fall. I'll just be honest about it. I'm a little reserved at the beginning when I'm trying new products, but the more I use that one, the more excited I get about it. Do you have a project already picked out, Carol? Okay, so I'm looking right in here at all of these dark areas here, and I want to make sure that I'm not going too dark, because I'm just wanting to establish some of the dark areas right now. I can always darken it up more later, you know. There's some hair right on the other side of this. Let me do this so you can see it better maybe. Right on the other side of this particular lock of hair right here that is going in this direction, dedicated to this little clump over here, this section. And so I want to move my pencil in that direction, same direction as this little section of hair. There we go, Carol. Oh, so Carol is saying she's going to have to discipline herself and finish the drawing that she's currently working on right now, and it's on smooth drafting film. I think smooth drafting film. So yeah, uh, that's gonna be you're gonna feel like you're breathing a breath of fresh air when you get on that sanded paper, because there's just so many freedoms working on sanded paper that I think you're going to just love how much freedom that gives you when you start doing that. Okay. So let's see here. I want to come over here to this other side and lighten up my stroke a lot. I'm trying to be a contortionist here. I'm going to have to get really far over. If I wasn't doing this for a live stream, I would actually turn my project. I would turn it this way, and I would actually not be drawing like this. I would be drawing this direction, so I would turn it on a 90-degree angle so that it provides me with the best angle to be able to get this job done right here. Hey, Cheryl, how are you? Good to see you over there. Cheryl is on Facebook Live. So this paper is actually doing a lot for us, helping us a lot. So we've got this area right in here. It's a little bit darker. And I want to think of these sections as abstract areas. I don't want to think about this as being hair. That's going to be murder if I think about all of this as being hair. Why? Because then I might start wanting to draw individual strands of hair. And if I do that, then it's going to look like plastic or like straw. And we don't want that. Hey, Angel, good to see you over here. Thanks for joining us. So Maria's asking why I don't turn the paper while doing the video. The biggest reason why, Maria, is because I have it taped down. It's taped over here. I have this taped to a presentation board, and then I also have it taped to my easel that I'm on. So it would be just a big production for me to do that. It would slow down this whole process, and it's slow enough already. But I think it's worth at least explaining what I would typically do. I mean, because it's fine not to do that as well, but I think it's worth at least mentioning. Okay. Okay, so that was not. This is this area right in here on this this little section looks kind of like a bun. I'll just call it a mock bun right there. You know, don't judge me. I don't have hair. I don't have to know all the names. But anyway, it's a little bit rough. My drawing, that is, right in here, and so there's some things that I just did that I'm not real crazy about, and probably because I didn't turn my paper. And so what I'm going to do then is I'm going to remove some of this, but I've stained the paper enough to where I've got something, to work with. And I'm using a light stroke, so I've protected it enough to where it's not going to cause me a problem later on. So I can remove some of this now. There we go. All right. I'll sharpen this just a little bit just by rubbing it on this sandpaper, this emery board here. And now when I'm going on top of this area, oh, Cheryl's asking if I'm using Col-Erase pencil. No, I'm using the Derwent Lightfast. Sepia Red is the pencil I'm using right now. I used the Col-Erase by Prismacolor at the beginning for my layout, and then now I've switched over to my Lightfast pencils. Now, somebody was mentioning over on Monthly Sharpener, I believe it was today, that they're a little hesitant to use the Derwent Lightfast pencils because they can't get them in open stock. But you, in fact, can. You can get them in open stock. They're available on Blick in open stock. I think there's about 57 colors or so that are available in open stock. So yeah, don't let that be a barrier to you. If you've thought about using them and you're hesitant because you feel like you can't replace colors that you're using, I understand that type of hesitation very well. Okay. So I want to make sure that I taper this value where it's darker in this one spot, and then it streamlines, it gets thinner as it pushes away from that edge where this curl is. It's the only thing that's going to make this actually look more like hair. Right in here. There we go. So Linda is asking, why did I take the color off and then put it right back on? That's a good question. I had some very uneven strokes over here, and so I took it off because I didn't want that, to become a problem later on. Sometimes you think in your mind, oh, I'll just go back in there later and I'll fix that and it'll be fine. I won't have to worry about it because I'm going to add more layers on top and it'll work itself out. With colored pencil, that's what we're doing, right? Just adding more and more layers. But what can happen, though, is that you start letting you forget about it, for one thing. You can forget, or another thing that happens is you can get some of those uneven areas in there. It can start making you think that you did that intentionally, and your subconscious mind starts drawing darker in certain areas. And it's better, I feel like, at least for the technique that I use, it's just better to go and immediately, as soon as you can, correct that. Just fix it to where it has a better, more even distribution of the pigment on the paper. Otherwise, like I said, you'll just forget about it, or you'll be complacent and you'll start being okay with it not looking just as good as it can look, Hope that helped. So Carol is asking, have you just used the one color so far? And for the most part, I mean, I put on Chinese white from the Derwent drawing set. I put that in certain areas where the highlights are a little bit last night, and that was to protect some of these areas. The Derwent drawing pencil is very soft wax, but it does protect some of the areas quite a bit. I did it over here, right in here, up in here, and so I don't want those to be white, obviously, but I want to protect these areas a little bit so that later on, when I come back over them with the right color, in case I need to go back and I need to erase anything, I've got that barrier separating everything. Yeah, cool. Okay, so some of these things, like, I have to remember this because this is something that used to trip me up quite a bit. Let me see if I can show you this. Some of these areas where you see a little bit of shadow right here, right in here, right in here, right in there, where it looks like a little triangle. I hope you can see that. Right in there is one. Right in here is one. These areas that look like little triangles, for lack of a better term, early on in the process, I try not to worry about those, because if I start trying to draw those little things where the hair is changing direction just a little bit, so there's a little bit of a shadow, I don't want to think like that. I want to think early on in the process about just linear types of shadows, because those are it's just a slight modification for me to make that look like a little triangle, right? And so I want to think like that. I want to think in these linear ways. I got a neighbor who is mowing the lawn. If you guys can hear that, let me know, and I'll turn down one of my dials over here. I think I can turn down the gain, and it will filter that out a little bit. Oh, good. Okay. Thanks, Maria. All right. So I'm looking for all those shadows right now. We basically just got an outline last night, right? And so now today I want to go back in there and look for the more prominent shadows, but also look for some that are getting close to that middle value. We're not going to really draw in the middle value yet, though, but we're still using a very, very dark pencil. So this is a prime example of what I was just talking about, where right in here I've got hair that's sweeping this direction and then going in this direction, but I've got hair underneath that coming down in a different direction a little bit. But I don't want to worry about that right now. I want to get, for the most part, these sweeping motions in there. I can put that in there, but I don't want to put this uneven area right in there. You might be thinking, why is he making such a big deal about that? Because what can happen is that is one of the things that can start making your hair look like straw and looking like plastic or something. Okay, I want to move this up a little bit. I have to remind myself that I'm drawing just slightly bigger than this reference. Slightly larger. You and me both, Cheryl. She's saying she never wants her hair to look like straw. That's right. Okay. Cheryl is an amazing portrait artist. So I know she's being tongue in cheek because she knows exactly what I'm talking about. All right, let's move that up this way. Right in here, this is an interesting area because this streak goes down all the way up. The other thing is, remember, this is a study, and hair doesn't always look the same. This hair, I guarantee you, on this gal, um, does not look the same every time she fixes it. And so, is it extremely important that I have this little angle exactly the correct angle, or can it be up a little bit more or down a little bit more? Yeah, it doesn't matter because it's not going to look the way that it does right there tomorrow, you know. And incidentally, I took this reference photo probably, I don't know, maybe as many as 6 or more years ago. I don't remember. It was a long time ago, and took a lot of reference photos of her and have not used them. All right, until now. So I know her hair probably doesn't look the same today, you know, because hairstyles change, right? A little bit, slightly, once in a while, and so that's the freedom in hair. You know, there's a lot to not like about drawing hair, but there's a lot to like, and that's one of them. Is that hair changes, and hairstyles change. Hair today, gone tomorrow. That's what happened to me. But hair changes over a week's time, even. You know, there's from day to day and all that. So, all right. Yeah, be careful. There may be dad jokes that come out. Just fair warning here. That was my darker area. So up from there, I got to follow this back a little bit. That's my darker area right there. And then I want to see where, got to kind of make a decision here on where some of those lighter areas are going. So this one probably should have been moved up just a little bit, but it isn't, so that's okay. So this is going to come down like that later on. So this can all be slightly darker, but not as dark as some of these really dark areas. So we're nearly in the middle value there. Very, very, very light touch. And if you're wanting to draw along with me, and you're wanting to try your hand at this reference yourself, you can go over to sharpenedartist.com/livestreams. Scroll all the way down. This is study number 4, the hair study, and you'll see the reference photo there. Okay, well, let's see here. So this is coming down, and there's this other area there, and then this part is part of my other section. Okay, I don't want that to be too dark. There we go. All right. Not real sure what's going on over here where this clip is or whatever it is that's holding her hair up over here. But I don't need to worry about it too much as long as I can just kind of follow some of the abstract shapes back here. We've got a shadow happening over here. Okay. Looks like we're nearly out of the frame, so we'll move up just a moment here. Now it's a lot darker right under here where that shadow is. There we go. Oh, thank you, Carol. Carol's saying it looks shiny already. And see, and that's only because of the value separations, right? Getting the dark established. And not thinking about anything but sections right now. So that really does help you to do it in that way. Okay. Now let's come back over here. So if I'm looking at these shadows right in here, these darker areas, then I want to kind of match what I was doing over here with these darker areas, right? Just so that there's some balance. Really kind of need some tone in there for the skin in order to show that there's a value difference between the skin of the forehead and that of the hair. You know, the tone over here, I want to suggest that just a little tiny bit so that we know what that tonal value is over there. It actually needs to be more of a pink color, but I'm not going to worry about that. It's very uneven though, so Linda, we are going to tap it a little bit to remove it. And sure I got the same pencil. Yeah. So I'm going to grab this one. I think it's sharper. We're using that one for quite a while, and it got a little dull. Just a reminder to us over here that, you know, the skin is a different value. It's not bright like what we're dealing with in the hair, especially in this area. It's darker. So we're not going to spend a lot of time on that, but I just wanted to sort of suggest it over there. Okay, so this hair comes down right in here. And this one too, and then there's some differences. Oh, thank you, Cheryl. Means a lot coming from you. Appreciate that. All right. So, you know, sometimes it's hard to tell if, you know, if these values are very, very dark, or if the brightness next to it is just influencing that value and making us think, you know, that it's darker than what it really is. So Harry says, you sometimes use a soft brush to smooth your laid down pencils. Does it not work on this paper? So you sometimes use a soft brush to smooth your laid down pencils. I had to take a break, get a bit of tea here. Yeah, I don't really think that you know, that would work a whole lot with these Derwent Lightfast pencils, Harry, and in this paper. If you're using Polychromos pencils, that might work a little bit, but certainly not as well as it would with maybe a charcoal or a graphite, you know. Right? Colored pencil, sometimes it can feel like it's going to do similar things to like graphite or charcoal, but it really doesn't. Yeah, you're welcome, Harry. Okay, let's push this back up here. These areas right in here that are shadows are just very long linear strands of hair that we'll account for, right? And in all of these highlights and then these streaks of lighter blonde hair, which is kind of hard for me to tell if, you know, we're dealing with darker roots right in here, which I'm presuming we are. That's what I'm thinking is happening a lot. Although it tapers so nicely in a lot of these areas that it's not going to matter a whole lot whether or not, you know, we're dealing with dark roots or not. The last thing I really want to do is draw something where I'm depicting the dye on the hair as stopping, you know, at half an inch or an inch from the scalp, and then I'm depicting the dark area, which is what we call dark roots, right before the hair meets the scalp, right? I don't want to do that. Okay, so right in here we've got a lot of strands that are darker in there. Not sure that we want to depict that exactly the way we're seeing it right here, you know. A little bit. We'll suggest it a little bit, I think, but I don't think we want to actually do a lot of those little tiny shadows in between the sections of hair. I don't know that that would really make for the most compelling drawing. Okay, now move this, put a little bit more up here, and at the same time increasing that dark value right in there. Okay, this is really pretty dark right in here. And over here as well. All right. Okay. I can come back in this other direction as well to get that darker area on the outside over there. Or that hair goes away from us on that far side. Okay, I really think we need a nice purple right in here for the scalp and for some of the dark areas on that hair right in there. All right. So let's see this area. This might be hard to see on that reference because I think I've cut it off a little bit. But your downloadable reference over there that I made available will include this. So I'm seeing this hair coming way up here, and then this area that is folded over this other section, kind of standing on top a little bit. So this whole area right in here comes over this way. And it's probably a little bit too dark anyway. Right in there. Okay. Yeah, some of these areas in the hair and some of the process of going through depicting some of the sections are areas sometimes in the past I remember just wanting to rush through it, and I feel that old tendency welling up inside of me where I just want to rush through it, and that's the last thing that I really want to do. because that would that starts causing you to not think about what you're trying to depict when you start trying to rush it. Okay, yeah, let's see this area. Start putting a little more definition on that curl right there. Okay, so now I can probably add right, haven't we all, Maria? That's so true. She's saying she's made more mistakes rushing. Yeah. So easy to do. All right. So that's probably good enough in that area right there, and add a little bit more curve right there, and just kind of look around. Okay, so I want to switch over and I'm going to grab a... Wow, that lawnmower is so loud. Hopefully you guys can't hear that. My old microphone would have picked that up really a lot. So I'm hoping this one isn't. Okay, what is this? This is heather. So I might use that. Let me look around here and see. Yeah, this Merlot might be the answer, though. Yeah, I think we'll float in and out of maybe these three right here. So Heather, Merlot, and Polychromos Dark Indigo. And I want to grab this... looks like we may have lost the stream for a second over there on YouTube. I don't know. If you guys are able to still see the video, then just let me know. Okay, this part's connected right in there. Okay. Now, I'm going to add a little bit of that purple color right in there. Just a little bit, just a hint of it for that scalp. I don't want a lot. And I need to sharpen that. Okay. There we go. You guys able to still see the feed over there on YouTube? It looked like it cut out for a second, but just wanted to make sure. It's hard for me to keep track of what the feed's doing and try to focus on drawing at the same time. Okay, now I'm going to grab... Well, I'm not hearing from anybody over there on YouTube, so maybe we lost the feed for a moment. Oh, okay, so Yulia is telling me that she's still able to see. Thank you, Yulia. Okay, thanks, Linda. So I guess we are okay over there on YouTube. All right, perfect. Thanks, Linda. That pencil's a little dull. Switch over to this dark indigo. So, so Heather, over on YouTube, is asking how I don't have a lot of dust on the paper. So Heather, I'm on Stonehenge cream color paper, and these are colored pencils. Is that what are you normally working on? I guess I was wanting to know that first. Um, these are oil-based colored pencils that I'm using. So I don't typically have a lot of dust on this type of paper with colored pencils. Now, if I'm using sanded paper, it's a different story. Oh yeah, no. If it's sanded paper like Lux Archival, if that's what you were thinking it was, yeah, that I would have a lot of dust on. Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. I want this to be a pretty rich, um, dark brown down in here, and so because of that, I'm using this really dark blue for a little bit, and then we'll go back over it, with our dark reds and browns. But I want that rich, dark flavor down here to this area of the hair. That I'm just not going to get otherwise. So let me see if I can zoom in just a little bit. Might help us to see this a little bit clearer right in here. I don't want to crop it too much or might be missing something. So now I also want to try to be a little selective in some areas and make them slightly darker than other areas right in here. Only because that'll make it look more convincing like hair. And after all, that is what we're drawing, is hair, and we want it to look like hair by the time we're done, right? So this is going to be our darkest area. This is nearly as dark over here, though. Right in there. There's a little fold right in here that I didn't capture yet. I guess I'll go ahead and put that in there. That we want to make sure we get right in there. And then this comes out this way. One thing that makes something easier often when you're drawing anything that has a sort of a hard edge to it, and this is what this is over here, it's kind of a hard edge, is if I create some linear strokes in this direction and then move away from that and lighten that up and create a gradient, and then I can come back in this direction and pull some of that out. That way we've got the direction of the stroke maybe going in the way that I want. That's probably enough on that area. And a little bit over here. Okay, and then right up here. And I think we're probably done over there. I don't want that to be really too dark. Maybe right under there, just a little bit. Okay, I'll zoom back out a little bit. We'll go back up to the top. Work on that. Okay, so I want to switch over now to Merlot. No, I don't. I'm forgetting some of this right in here. I want to make sure I get this first. So let's see right in here. The more even that we can make this distribution of this blue color, the better off we're going to be, because we don't want it to stay blue, and so we don't want it to, we're just putting a little bit in here just to make it a little more richer, a little darker, a little more of that dark red and brown color. If I put too much over here, then it will become an eyesore. This is why we didn't start out with. Actually, we talked about that today on office hours, but this is the reason why I didn't start out with this dark indigo in this case, because we're dealing with blonde hair. We're dealing with very light hair. So we don't want, not saying it's a wrong choice. We could have done it, I guess, but we don't want the hair to end up looking blue. And so with brunette hair, it's a pretty logical choice that we could use blue to start with. But with something that has a lot of blonde in it, we run the risk of getting too carried away and getting too much blue in there. Okay. Now we can switch over to this Merlot. Let's tint that just a little bit. All right. May not use that indigo again. I don't know that we'll need to. All right, so now this, this particular color, I want to cover everything that I did in the blue. Wow, I cannot believe it's been an hour. That's just crazy. Felt like we just started here. Just always happens. But I want to cover this blue, and then I want to also push some of this Merlot into the mid region here. The area is right outside of, right in between the darkest area and the highlight. So midtones is what we're looking for, and this will give us a great underpainting for those as well. But it's also going to tint all of that blue for us in the direction that we want. Okay. Back up here. Pull that blue back over. Just hitting all of that blue area. I need to slow that stroke down a little bit. I'm getting a little bit too fast. And you can start to notice that. You know, one of the things you notice with a stroke that's, you know, you're maybe hitting too fast is your linear, your stroke that you want to look like a line will start looking kind of like this, you know, if you're going too fast. And it'll be wider also than it should be. Go back out a little bit there. Sorry for all that back and forth there. Okay, let's push that back in here. Get all of that tinted just a little bit. And we've still got enough, and I need to remind myself to slow down. Still got enough area on the tooth, enough left where if we need to, we can come back in there with battery operated eraser and grab the highlights out, you know, and that's a fun thing to do. That's very rewarding and satisfying to pull those out of there. When we start doing that, it's just so fun. Okay. Let's come down here. I'm going to go in between some of these areas that are kind of bright or are going to be depicted as bright. And we'll cover this blue over here. Need to go back up to that top though. There's some areas that I didn't cover yet. But while I'm down here, I'll go ahead and get these filled in. Hey, Hillary. Yeah, so Hillary, so I'm live streaming it, and so it will also be available as a replay after we're done. So very cool. Thanks for joining us out here. Awesome. I loved your drawing that you sent me earlier today. It's so good. And it's exciting that you're coming back to it and working on it. Here we go. So this area right in here is going to be right over here. I have to start telling you now where I'm looking because I've changed some of this, obviously. Really have to work at this area right here to make sure that it looks like what we're drawing. yeah, exactly, Hillary. I know what that feels like. Trust me, I know. So I'm here. I'm in your back pocket. Just remember that. If you get stuck. It was always something I didn't want to do personally as an art teacher. I never wanted to just create something and let the student go fend for themselves. It just doesn't work. I don't feel like it doesn't work well. It didn't work well for me, and that's what I had to try to do. I remember years ago. And so, yeah, I like the personal connection, spending a little more time with students. Hillary says maybe after the millionth portrait. No, you will get there so much faster than that. I know you're being tongue in cheek, but that's funny. All right. Looking for a little bit of those darker areas there, and for some reason I switched over to my sepia again. I think because that started looking a little too red to me, and I wanted to make sure it looked like a dark brown. So I'm going to come back over here to this blue area and add this Merlot in here. Make sure we get that in there. Looking a little uneven right there. I don't like that. Remember, we can make things look uneven later on if we need to. Early on in the process, it just sets yourself up for failure, I believe. And I think it just starts making hair look like plastic hair, or like you're visiting the wax museum. Remember that? Yeah, I probably had nightmares with a wax museum figure. Sergi Man says he likes all those alcoholic Derwent Lightfast names. Oh, thanks, Linda. She's saying she likes to see all these shelter-in-place extra videos. Or we, and she hates to see them end once we get back to normal. Are we ever going back to normal? I don't know if we want to open up that can of worms, but oh my. Okay. Ah, Hillary is a funny lady. Okay, let's see here. The unevenness Harry's talking about. So, yeah, maybe I can. That starts to lose focus. I don't know why. If I go into close, I don't know why it does that. Okay, so let me see if I can show you. So I think right in here you can kind of see it right in there. Right in there. That line right there. You see how it started like doing that uneven stuff? That happens when someone is grazing the surface and they're using a dull pencil. Those two things. So they're grazing the surface and they're using a dull pencil. So if I sharpen this pencil up, let me sharpen it. Okay, so now I've got a very sharp point on my pencil. And I go back in this same area, I think it was right here, and I slow the stroke down quite a bit. I can get a very nice straight line right in there. Yeah, yeah, it is. It is the tooth of the paper. Yeah, you're not going to have that same issue with smooth paper, right? But you are going to have that issue on Stonehenge and or any paper that has a lot of tooth on it. And so use the paper, to your advantage and allow it to do what it's designed to do, and that is hold a lot of layers, multiple layers. Um, if I start raking across there real fast, the other thing that happens, especially to new students of colored pencil, is they will start mashing really hard, pressing the tip really hard, and when they do that, then they'll damage the tooth. They'll flatten out the tooth, and then you can't get it back. And when that happens, you're pretty much done at that point. And we all do that at the beginning. We have to learn how to not do that. I mean, that's lay everything else aside, because we're not talking about a technique where you're putting solvent down and things like that. But I'm talking about good drawing habits, good drawing skills, and learning how to wield the tip of that pencil point in a way that protects the tooth of the paper and helps you to create multiple layers on the surface that you can control. You're controlling the look and the feel of the whole drawing that you're drawing on. I know you know what I mean. I'm just going on and on just to hear myself talk, perhaps, but I just feel the need to say all of that. But anyway, that's just something that I don't know. I'm really pretty passionate about trying to help people that understand how that, how that happens, how that works. Yeah, yeah, that's right, Sergi, man. Never go turbo on your paper. Yeah, it's but it surprisingly, it's just something that if you can remember back to when you started in colored pencil, if you've been drawing in colored pencil for a while, you didn't quite understand at the beginning, and perhaps you did that. I can spot it now when I see drawings. I can spot it a mile away now. I can see where someone is doing that, and my thing is I just want to reach out and help them and tell them what the problem is there. That's what's going on, is they're just raking the pencil across the surface much too fast. And if they slowed down a little bit, they would avoid that problem. Okay, I'm going to come back in here into the middle values and work on those. Just a little bit. And then we'll call it a night, and we'll do it all again tomorrow. Let's see here. So that does. Even though that may not look like it's really dark over there, I want to make it a little darker. And it is darker than what I've got it right here, but I want to make it even darker than maybe it is, only because it will help to show a little more dimension. Yeah, Linda's saying it's hard to on Stonehenge test color with that tooth because it doesn't go on evenly. Yeah. With Stonehenge, really, you've kind of got to know what's going to happen already when you put the pencil down. You kind of have to know what the colors are going to do, what the surface is going to start looking like when you apply multiple layers. You don't want surprises on Stonehenge. On the upside, Stonehenge offers so many advantages where you can layer so much with it and get so many different layers that can shift everything in different directions. Like if I'm wanting to lighten something up, I still can do that. Now, I'm not going to have the same opportunities of shifting things in a color direction that I do on non-absorbent surfaces. But there are some other advantages with Stonehenge of shifting things, shifting colors over in a different direction than when where I am currently or where I was when I started, you know. So Linda says, do you use more of the point of the pencil to lay down a test color? Let's see. Yeah, instead of the side of the pencil, Linda, perhaps you're saying? Like doing that? I'm using the tip. If that's what you mean, yeah, I'm using the tip, usually. Put a little more of this heather color in here. Here we go. I guess we could put a little of this over here on the forehead, so we have some continuity in the skin color. All right. Hey, Peggy, how are you? Good to see you over here on Facebook Live. There we go. Want that hair going back in that other direction here. And on the other side here. So I keep having to remind myself that I'm thinking in, value separations, and And at the same time, I'm also wanting some of these values to be a gradient, so they're going to become lighter, but and they're going to sort of melt into the highlight, you know. But as I come on the other, go past the highlight to the other side, then I'm thinking of that darker value again, and everything, is needing to connect. It has to belong somewhere. This section, has to be able to kind of stand on its own for a while, and be its own thing. Oh, thank you, Yulia. Appreciate that. And Linda's asking if I'm using Merlot now. No, I don't think I am. Yeah, I switched back over to Sepia again. Gotta watch it. I'm tricky like that. I will switch pencils. I didn't really think about it, but that's what I did. I wanted something darker than what I had there. Okay. Yeah. All right. I think we're going to go ahead and stop for right now. And I know there's a lot of areas that we still need to kind of cover up. This blue, is kind of still sticking out a little bit in certain areas, but it's gonna be fine. So Hillary says, I see yellow in the area you're working on. Will you add later? Oh, you're talking about in the reference. You're talking about yellow in there. Yeah, we're going to add a little bit of some of the ochre color in there. So yeah, but we're not going to finish the entire photo, the reference today. Maybe I will show a little bit of what we're planning to do here. So here's our Naples yellow. Well, just for concept's sake, I guess. We'll come in here like this, and you have to keep in mind that we're already on a cream-colored surface. So we've got sort of this muted down sort of taupe kind of color, right? And so we're going to come in here with this yellow. It's not going to look very yellow. I mean, it's not going to be a huge contrast. If we colored the background a little bit more, then perhaps, we would see more of a contrast and we would see more yellow. But let me zoom in here so you can see this. Tell me if it loses focus. I hope it doesn't. But we're going to, put this Naples in here like this. So I'm skipping ahead a little bit here for some of the highlights right in there. And then what we'll do is then we'll take these areas where you see the brightest highlights. These are nearly white, right in here. I interpret them that way. For those, we're going to do some different things for those and make sure that they look, a little more Um, like dyed blonde hair, I guess. All right. Well, guys, this is it's been a lot of fun, and if you want to follow along and join us with drawing this particular drawing, you can head on over to sharpenedartist.com/live streams, and you can download the reference there. So otherwise, you're very welcome. Guys, thanks for coming out here. So otherwise, I will see you tomorrow night, and that will be at 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So I will see you then, and until then, stay sharp.